to Cohn and Kruger. That's Larry Kruger. I'm Grant Cohn. We haven't done a show in a minute, but we're back and the season is over and they just had their end of the year press conference. Robert Saleh's gone. Things are happening and things would be happening pretty quick. I put out a video earlier today, an article that the Niners are interested in trading for Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that later because first I want to ask Larry about something that he's been talking about on his streams, which is very interesting. Ricky Pearsall. What are you hearing about Ricky? I heard that the Niners are a little down on him because of this season. What are you hearing?
Well, I think they really like Ricky Pearsall. I think I think that, he's a guy that they really like as far as a guy. I think they like him as much as the day they drafted him. I just think that there's some frustration about maybe pain tolerance and his, ability to get out there. Shanahan said today he was only really himself for 4 games, and I would probably agree with that. But that in and of itself is a problem. So from what I've heard from people, a couple different people who are really close to the team, that Ricky Pearsall, that they're going to listen to trades for Ricky Pearsall in the offseason. So we shall see. I've heard that Pearsall and also about Renardo Green, that they just don't feel like there's a fit there, and that they know these are players that were drafted, Pearsall in round 1, Green in round 2, too high to, cut. You're not cutting guys like this, and they're too good of players to cut. But if somebody, they also play coveted positions. There's a lot of teams looking for wide receivers, a lot of teams looking for corners, and I don't think they're going to make a big deal about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if either of those guys, if not both, get moved this offseason.
When they were asked today about Ricky Pearsall, first of all, Kyle Shanahan answered, Lynch did not, and I found that interesting. And Shanahan, he's had a very long speech that sounded positive, but he threw in there, maybe we'll work on finding a way to come back a little faster. That's almost a direct quote. So I wonder if they feel like, on the one hand, you got Jauan Jennings, who is a free agent and who wants to stay here and would be kind of expensive. He's a little older, but he's out there every week, whether he has 8 broken ribs or not. And over here, we got Ricky Pearsall, who, I know he's hurt and it's painful, but he just wasn't able to find a way, the way that a lot of people on this team are. So yeah, I'm hearing the same thing, that they're a little down on him because of that. And I wouldn't be surprised. It just seems like you said, you had Ricky for 4 games. How many games are you going to have Ricky next year for? And if it's less than 15, then how can you really count on him as a number one? He's your number 1 guy or number 2.
And maybe this is just not the right scenario for him. I think he's his skill set is what they like, but maybe this is not the greatest fit. You see guys that need a change of scenery. It's clear in Jacksonville that Brian Thomas needs a change of scenery. Ricky's from that part of the world. He was good there at Florida. To me, a Ricky for Brian Thomas, junior swap at some point would make sense. They've tired of Brian Thomas. I think he would thrive in Shanahan's system. I think Ricky would probably be more comfortable in Jacksonville. But who knows? I'm sure Ricky would love to be here. And, his whole thing about taking notes when people were being critical of him. I was kind of ripping on that the other day in a live stream because it's like, dude, what are you doing taking notes? How about this? Stop worrying about our reaction to your inability to play and produce, and just worry about your inability to play and produce.
Yeah. I like Ricky a lot, and I think he has real potential. But if the Niners don't re-sign Jauan Jennings, then Ricky is their number 1 receiver. And again, you don't know how long he can stay healthy. This year it was 4 games, not even a quarter of the season. So it seems to me that they either need to bring in someone else, Jordan Addison, or maybe trade him for Jordan Addison. That could be something they explore as well. But I don't think they're going to go into another year depending on Ricky Pearsall and then being in this position where they're starting Kendrick Bourne for 8 games. That's not going to happen again.
They've got a couple young receivers. He's not the only one. Jacob Cowing was a 4th round pick. Guys can't get on the field. He was a really good player in college. Can't get on the field. Jordan Watkins, I asked Shanahan about him today, and he just kind of painted a picture of, we liked him, then he got set back, and then by the time he was healthy, he was behind, and he just was always behind. He made it seem like they really liked Nick Martin. They really liked Jordan Watkins, but those guys, for whatever reason, the injuries and the timing and when they were needed, it just never jived for them. But those are two guys at premium positions. The Niners have no receivers and no linebackers, and they need those two guys who can run to produce and get on the field. And that part of their failure was their inability to get anything out of those guys.
And what they really need too is a number one wide receiver, because as much as they like Jauan Jennings is not a number one wide receiver. He's a number two. And so far it looks like Ricky Pearsall, he has flashed like he could be a number one for a game here and there, but hasn't been consistent nearly enough to be that guy. They need a number one. It was supposed to be Brandon Ayuk. We asked about him today, and John Lynch said he's played his last game with the Niners. And they can't explain what's going on. And it's the weirdest thing they've ever seen. And it's so confusing. Sure, but they were counting on him. There's a reason they gave him $30 million a year. He's not coming back, which is why I'm not surprised that they're picking up the phones and calling about some of the best wide receivers in the league. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to get Justin Jefferson, and I don't think you really want AJ Brown. Like, he's 30. They need to get young on offense. They need to get faster on offense. And
I mean, when I, not to interrupt Grant, but when I watched the all 22 of Niners Seahawks, I was blown away. The 49er receivers got zero separation in that game. I haven't seen a 49er team get less separation at wide receiver since I've been watching the all 22 tape. I mean, it was unfreaking believable. It was like their defenders were wired to the Niner receivers. I'm not shocked at all that the Niners did zero offensively in that game. There was no space. So they don't need a big guy. They need a slithery, fast guy. That's why Jordan Addison, I think, is a perfect fit, because he's Mr. Separation. That guy can get 5 to 8 yards of separation on anybody. So they got to find some guys who can separate, because Brock Purdy doesn't have that laser arm. He can throw it to the right guy and be pretty accurate, but he's got to have some separation. If everybody's playing tight coverage, he's going to have a hard time. He really is.
Well, before we get to what I'm hearing about Jordan Addison, I'd like to hear what you're hearing about Renardo Green. You mentioned that he could be the other young player who's on the trade block. He was the second round pick right after Ricky Pearsall. What are you hearing about? The last time we saw Renardo, he was getting yelled at on the sideline during this playoff game by Kyle Shanahan. Came back in the game, but it didn't look like he was really like taking the coaching very well. In fact, it looked like he wasn't even listening.
Yeah, I just think that there, some guys fit and some guys don't fit, and then I think that's what I heard. Now, a number of his teammates really have high opinions of Renardo and be like, man, this guy's a dog, and he's awesome, and he can take guys away, and so on and so forth. That's what I've heard from a lot of the players. So he's very popular with his teammates, but he's kind of an island unto himself. He's very quiet. I don't know what they don't like about him, but I don't know if it's attention to detail, or if it's his casual approach, or if they just don't like, there's a lack of urgency there. But I've been told that he doesn't really fit in that well, and that that they're very likely to move on in the offseason in some form of a trade that includes him going elsewhere.
I mean, I could imagine what they wouldn't be wild about. For a starting cornerback, he's not a good tackler.
He's not very physical.
He's not physical. He's not a good tackler, and he's not a playmaker. So while he is actually pretty good in man-to-man coverage, Niners don't play a lot of man-to-man coverage. He will break up passes, but he's intercepted only one in 2 years, and I think, you'd like more. And he's had plenty of opportunities, and he's dropped some. I mean, he's just not a play. He's not that good. He's okay.
I think it has more to do with personality than play. I think his play is okay. I think it has more to do with just maybe his approach and his personality doesn't blend. I don't know, but I think you do make a good point on he was a very good man coverage corner at Florida State. They coach it up pretty well there. He looks pretty natural in man-to-man coverage, but the Niners do play predominantly zone, and they're a predominant zone team, and maybe it's just not a great fit. But from what I've heard, they're going to entertain offers for him in the offseason.
It's interesting because to me, he actually is a good DB with his back to the cornerback. When he's trailing a wide receiver, he has the size, the quickness, the explosion to really do that and to turn around, find the ball, and knock it down. But with eyes on the quarterback from zone coverage, he does nothing. He's not a playmaker, and he's not physical. So I think he's a bad fit. Maybe he's a bad fit schematically. Maybe he's a bad fit in terms of the culture of the team as well. He doesn't seem like a malcontent or a problem. I've only heard him talk like 2 or 3 times.
No, I think it has a lot to, if you ask me now, I've been told from the people that gave me this that it has to do with, that his personality, and it's not
Okay.
really necessarily his play. But I think it also, especially if they go with a guy, if they go to the new defensive coordinator,
Right.
I
I was
think
gonna
there's
say
a very
that.
good chance that the 49ers like bigger corners who are physical in the
Yeah.
run game, who they're they had Emmanuel Mosley. He was a big time hitter off the edge. And I think that's a
Doubt's a
big
hitter.
part. Yeah, you got to be more of I think they're going to be looking for a more violent, bigger bodied guy that can play the run. And I think part of their struggles against the run outside have to do with his poor tackling.
Also, you gotta remember that, like, it's gonna be another defensive coordinator, and he's gonna have his own opinions about these players, and he's probably gonna wanna bring in some of his own players, and he's not gonna be replacing Upton Stout. He's not gonna be replacing Diamondor Lenore. He's gonna bring in a free safety, I would imagine, not a strong safety, and if he wants to bring in his own corner, it's gonna be here. So, if the Niners wanna, like, create some issues with Renardo to compel themselves to move on and get someone else, I wouldn't be surprised. I could see it
If
happening.
Gus
Again, he's not his own
Bradley
guy.
If it's Gus Bradley, I think you're going to see big corners, and like I wouldn't be surprised at all if Gus Bradley is the defensive coordinator. Tariq Woolen, I could definitely see being a target. One, he's on Seattle. Two, he's Gus loves. I mean, he had Brandon Browner and Richard
Right.
Sherman. They were 6'3" and 6'4".
6'4".
I think he would definitely like a big corner.
Okay, good to know. All right, let's tell people what I'm hearing about Jordan Addison. All right. I'm hearing that the Vikings don't want to pick up his 5th-year option. He was just arrested for the 3rd time since entering the NFL. He hasn't hurt anyone or, I mean,
He's a lead
done
foot.
anything too bad. He's been speeding, he was drunk driving. I mean, stuff that Demarcus Robinson did last year right before the Niners hired him. Recently, he was trespassing, but they dropped the charges. Anyway, it's enough that the Vikings kind of feel like they probably won't give him the extension or pick up the 5th-year option. They're already highly invested in Justin Jefferson. So here come the Niners. Apparently, once the charges were dropped, there was a phone conversation. I don't know if they made an offer, but they want to know what's going on with Jordan Addison, and it feels like the Niners want him, the Bills want him. I'm sure there'll be other teams that want him too. He's 23 years old, and it's kind of amazing that he's been arrested 3 times at that age. It's not a good thing, and it's something the Niners need to take seriously because they've had bad histories with wide receivers, but he's a really good player. He's a really, really good player. And if they could get him, he'd be their number 1 wide receiver. He'd be a great fit with Brock. And I'm thinking, what is he worth? A 2nd round? I don't know. What do you think? A 2nd round pick? A 3rd?
Lower. I think he's
third?
more. I think he might be a more like a mid-round pick.
Okay.
Because I think it's more like a 4th or a 5th round pick. I know that sounds low, but yes, he's 23, but he's been arrested 3 times. A couple of those times, I think he was driving over 90 miles an hour. One of them was like in a 35 zone or something. I mean, he's got a little bit of a lead foot, and but I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? I mean, he's 23. He's young. He's a little immature, but this kid is a tremendous player. He was at Pitt. He was at SC. He's been that in the NFL. He's had multiple games this year where he had double-digit targets, and he had a couple 100-yard days. Lit up Philadelphia for 9 catches for 128 yards in the middle of October. So, yeah, he was on my fantasy team this year. I've watched him a lot. Jordan Addison is not the biggest receiver, but, man, he gets separation, and I will say this: the 49ers have to take a look. They got to broaden their scope because toughness is what it's really required in these wide receivers. It's one of the most underrated traits in a wide receiver. You got to be tough, and I think they've gone for some guys who are kind of choir boys who aren't that tough. And it's like, why did Dante Pettis not really make it? He's not that tough. He can't get off the line of scrimmage. He can't beat the jam. Why is Ricky Pearsall struggling? He's not that tough. He's getting all kinds of injuries, and he can't stay on the field for more than 2 or 3 games without getting hurt. He played 4 weeks in a 17-game schedule. He had 4 games where he was himself this year. That's, I just think that you gotta have a little bit more physicality. You gotta have a little bit more toughness. And if that means you got to take a chance on some guys with some questionable things, then I think you got to take a chance.
Well, what's nice is there's options here, right? Like you could trade a 3rd round pick for him and then have him for 1 year. Don't pick up the 5th year option. And if you don't like him, if he's a problem, he leaves and you get a comp pick, a 3rd round comp pick, most likely the next year. So you could do that. Or what you could do is trade your wide receiver, who's a 1st round pick, who you're not going to pick up his 5th year option for theirs. You could trade Ricky and a pick, whatever it would be, for Addison. Say, hey, you get a 1st round pick back. He's got a little more time on his clock because he was drafted after him, if you want him. Or there's Mac Jones. Although Mac Jones might be worth more in a trade than Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I think he definitely would be. I think Mac Jones, I think we're going to be very encouraged by what Mac Jones is going to fetch, because Mac Jones is going to fetch you a 3rd if you keep him. So I think it's probably a player and a 2nd that is probably going to be his price tag, especially when you factor in what kind of a lame quarterback draft class this is. I mean, there's Mendoza, but after Mendoza, I mean, it falls off. I mean, with Ty Simpson, Dante Moore went back to Oregon, so he's not in the draft. So what do you got? You got Ty Simpson, Carson Beck. I mean, if anybody who wants a quarterback is going to have to come play ball with John Lynch, and I think that's the Niners. That was probably the most encouraging part of today, is that they kind of threw down the gauntlet to the rest of the league, saying, "Hey, you know what? We can see him here next year." So they want to do right by Mac, but I think they're going to get a really nice price for Jones.
Would you trade Ricky Pearsall in a 4th round pick for Jordan Addison?
Probably. Yeah. I'd rather do it straight up. I'd rather go straight up since, you know.
I don't think Ricky Pearsall is worth quite as much as Jordan Addison.
No,
even though
not.
Jordan's been arrested 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Addison is the kind of receiver I definitely would want on this team. I think the moment Jordan Addison is on the roster, he's the number 1 option in the pass game. I mean, you have nothing. You have absolutely nothing. To me, that's the biggest concern is look at this team. CMC's coming off 400 touches. The fullback's old. The left tackle is old. These guys are in their final years. Kittle won't play that much, if at all. And if he is, he's going to be coming off an Achilles, probably diminished. JJ's likely moving on. Pearsall's always hurt. The other guys are totally unproven. You have DeMarcus Robinson. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so naked and so barren at wide receiver. They better get aggressive in every way imaginable. The draft, trades, free agency. I mean, they better be all over every available wide receiver that can play, because their core stinks.
They also, what the Niners could do is they could trade for him. They could pick up his 5th year option. They could try to extend him now. He'd be eligible for an extension. And they could say, you know what? We waited so long with Brandon Ayuk. It really screwed us. The market shifted right at the end. It cost us tens of millions of dollars. Why don't we just extend him now? He's never had a 1,000-yard season because he's been playing in Justin Jefferson's shadow. He's been arrested a few times. He doesn't have much leverage. Why don't we offer him an extension right now and lock him up? And now we got our number 1 receiver. He's turning 24 in like a week. Or, I don't know. I mean, maybe you don't want to take that risk. Maybe you want to get to know him a little bit before you.
Well, he's had some problems. Maybe you dangle the carrot. Maybe you dangle the carrot and you just say, hey, look, give us, fly right, do all the right things, produce like we know you can. Halfway through the season, we'll cut it. We'll work a deal. Something like that, I think makes sense. Some kind of compromise. I think they're going to want to see not just production on the field, but they're going to want to make sure that they feel like they like the guy because of the problems he's had.
Now, the only thing is I could see the Bills being more aggressive than the Niners. Maybe they can't do anything until they get a head coach. They're kind of a mess right now. But remember, they traded for Stephon Diggs once upon a time with the Vikings. They desperately need a wide receiver. I mean, just as much as the Niners, if not more. So that's a team to watch as well. There's going to be a bidding war for them, and the Niners just won't give up everything. But it does seem like Ricky Pearsall in a pick could be enticing to this team, or, I mean, maybe just a 3rd round pick. Not Matt Jones.
The Niners may look at this and just be like, hey, we can't trade away any receivers. We have to just we're going to keep Ricky.
We need Addison and Pearsall.
We need Addison and Pearsall and Jennings and in the draft. And, and I'll say this too. A lot of people saying, we'll do this in the draft. Yeah, I love Carnell Tate. He's awesome, right? And then Jordan Tyson, some of these guys at the top of the draft. those guys are going in the top 10. You're not getting anywhere close to that. And even if you have a high pick, you're not using it on that. So I don't think the Niners are in a they got so beaten so badly on the line of scrimmage, and their linebacking core is so bad that, to me, they either have to go O-line, D-line, or linebacker in round one. They can't be dancing with more receivers, especially their track record of picking them is horrible. So, I mean, I went through, you did a list of like their bust receivers from like A to B, and I went back and looked at deeper and looked, I mean, they have struggled as an organization for the last 25 years to identify good receivers in the draft. We're not talking about a 1 or 2 year problem. This is an issue that goes back to TO.
Here's what I like about trading for Addison. He's a proven NFL wide receiver. Yes, they could try to draft a wide receiver, and there are good wide receivers that get taken every single year, but are we sure that, I mean, it's not 100% guarantee you're going to find it. The last time the Niners drafted a receiver in round 1, they got Ricky Pearsall, and now he's probably worth like a 4th round pick in a trade. So you could try that, or you could trade for this guy who's a proven 3-year vet who's still only 23 years old. I think that's pretty cool. And again, you got to really vet him and make sure that the Vikings don't know something you don't. But man, he's a really good player, and he's affordable.
And he's a big time deep threat. And it's like, if you look at his game log, not just last year, if you go the year before, you know, he's got 162-yard touchdown day against the Bears. He's got a 133-yard day, 8 catches against Atlanta. I mean, this guy's
he's the reason Kenny Pickett was drafted in round 1. This guy,
right? Yeah, Jordan Addison is a great player.
Yeah,
really a great player. And even though he's 5'11", maybe 180, he might even be sub 180. He's kind of tough. You know what I mean? It's not like he's a skinny guy, but he ain't weak. You know, it's like,
would you compare him sort of to Devontae Smith?
I think he's stronger than him. I would say he kind of reminds me of a little bit of Diggs. He's like Diggs.
Okay. All right. Here's the other thing I'm hearing. Apparently, the Niners really want to be aggressive this offseason. They were the least aggressive team in the league last offseason. They were financial constraints, and it killed them, and they came so close this year. And I bet a lot of people in the organization feel like, geez, or maybe Kyle feels like, geez, if we had only made a push, maybe we could have beaten the Seahawks in the playoffs. So now they have some cap space. It's a different year. And in addition to looking for a wide receiver they could trade for, apparently they're interested in trading up in the draft. They've traded up before. They haven't really had any success trading up, but they're currently positioned at the end of round 1. You're probably not going to find a foundational blue chip player, and they really need to. They have a bunch of nice, good middle class starters who are young, but they need some stars, someone to replace Brandon Ayuk or to join Brock Purdy as like the young foundation of this team. So I don't know. You know the draft better than me. Are there some people that would intrigue you in like the top 20?
Okay, first of all, you got to ask yourself, how are the Niners going to get up there? And I would say the only chance they have to getting up in the first round is Mac Jones.
Okay.
Because Mac Jones, once again, represents a starting quarterback at $7 million, which he's got value, but then the lack of draft quality at quarterback gives him more value. And then his 1-year contract for $7 million gives him ultimate more value. He's like a perfect trade piece. So, like, where do you think he's going? I mean, who do you think is going to wind up with Mac Jones? If you think it's going to be Arizona, that's in the division. Now you're asking the Niners to trade a starting quarterback that they really like in the division. They have the 3rd pick in the draft. I could see the 49ers, after watching this draft, this college football playoff, I could see the Niners badly wanting to pair Nick Bosa with Reuben Bain. Reuben Bain is just an amazing edge rusher for the Miami Hurricanes, and he's probably going in the top 5. And the Cardinals have the 3rd pick. Would the Niners trade their 1st round pick, Mac Jones, and maybe another pick and get up into that 1st round and get a Reuben Bain? Because Bain and Bosa together could be, I mean, this guy's 6'3", 275, 9.5 sacks this year. He's awesome against the run. He's great against the pass. He's a relentless rusher. He's one of the most sure. I mean, think about it. The Niners have struggled so badly in the draft. The only time they ever really hit with anybody impactful was Bosa because he was such a high pick. So maybe that's the route. Get up at the top of round one and take a no-doubter like Reuben Bain and pair him with Nick. So that's the guy I would think of. Maybe somebody would say Carnell Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Maybe
What about the tight end from Oregon?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Kenyon Fadiq is, but I think he's probably going to be, or Kenyon Sadiq. I think he's going to be in the 20s. So they wouldn't have to move up. I mean, the Niners right now are slated to pick 27.
Okay.
So, and he's slated to go 19. I would say there's a very good chance that he could fall to them, even where they're at right now. But I mean, the difference maker in this playoffs, when you watch the college game, was this Reuben Bain. And it's just like, I know the 49ers, they gotta get better on the offensive line. They got to get better on the defensive line. Linebacker, wide receiver. They got a lot of needs. Interior O line, especially. But Bain is a stud. I mean, he is like a Pro Bowl player, ready-made player.
You mentioned Arizona as a team that might be interested in Mac Jones. That the Niners could trade up with another team. I mean, a team that might want a cheaper starting quarterback. Minnesota. I mean, they let Sam Darnold go because they didn't want to pay him what Seattle paid him, which wasn't that much. They went with J.J. McCarthy because he's cheap. And they're definitely not going to waste another year of Justin Jefferson's prime. I'd be freaking shocked if they just ran it back with J.J. McCarthy. They might keep J.J. McCarthy, but they're going to bring in another quarterback. And I think Mac Jones would be about as good as they could do. I think that might be interested in him.
It's an interesting idea. The pick I was thinking of for Mac Jones, if he was going to be round one, was going to be the Jets. Because the Jets have a pick at the very top of the draft. A lot of talk about Arvell Reese or something like that. And then they also have the Colts pick. They have the 16th pick for the Sauce Gardner trade.
I think the Niners would do that to Mac. That's so messed up.
I mean,
isn't that messed up?
That is. I mean, where the other one is Cleveland going to hire a Kubiak? I could see Mac Jones.
They might hire Schwartz.
I could see, like, if the Raiders got Kubiak, I could see the Raiders having interest in Mac Jones. I mean, if you're Mac Jones, though, how bad do you want to play? You want to play for the Raiders. You want to play for, bad teams that have, the Jets. I mean, these are horrible franchises.
Let me ask you this, though. Would it be smart to trade up? I mean, Kyle Shanahan sometimes falls in love. They want to be aggressive, but they need a lot of stuff, Larry. I mean, they have lots and lots of needs. Would it be smarter for them to trade down?
No, it would be definitely smarter to trade down, and it would be easier to trade down too. Because to me, the guy that you're getting outside of, let's say the top 15, the first half of the first round has some really, really good players. Sonny Styles and the offensive tackle from Miami, Maui Goa, and there's just a lot of great players there. Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. There's a lot of blue chip players in that top 15. But the second half of round one, going down to the middle of the third round, is all the same players. All the same players. So trading back for more picks, I think, is probably in their best interest. But here's the bigger question.
Because when they trade up, they often reach for the guy they're trading up for. They often trade up for guys they don't have to trade up for. Remember, when they traded up for Trey Lance, they originally wanted Mac Jones, who would have been there at 12. So I'm a little leery when Kyle Shanahan decides or John Lynch decides it's time to trade up.
Yeah, I mean, the trade-ups have been horrible. Didn't they trade up for
CJ? Renardo was a trade-up.
CJ Beathard was a trade-up.
Yep.
Dante Pettis was a trade-up. I mean, they trade. Jair Brown was a trade-up.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. I mean, when they target somebody on a trade-up, it's like that's the hex of hexes. I would say that this is the bigger question is, have the Niners, I mean, how should the Niners react to the fact that the Rams and the Seahawks are better than them, and that John Lynch has gotten outdone by Les Snead and John Schneider? And should the Niners maybe restructure and take Kyle out of the equation and move Lynch to the side in the equation and hire that great young scout to be their point man on the draft. They've missed 10 times in the third round since 2017. They've missed 18 times in the first 3 rounds since 2017. That's a lot of freaking misses. And I'm not saying that Lynch doesn't have value, and I'm not saying that Shanahan. I think they both have a lot of value overall. Shanahan is a play caller, Lynch as the face of the franchise. But as far as their draft efficiency, they're not hitting. And if they're ever going to catch up to Seattle and the Rams, they're going to have to change that dramatically. And to me, to go with the same process and the same people in that process, I don't know. That to me seems like living in denial and almost the definition of insanity. It's not going to get better until you change the decision makers and change the structure. And I think they're in love with their structure and their process. And I'm not, because it's
why though?
moving.
Why though? I mean, look at your results from the last 4 years. I mean, what they need to do. I'm not saying fire Kyle or fire John. I'm not saying not do that, but like, you can't keep things exactly the same. And someone at minimum needs to. You need a new person making the picks. And so if you want to keep John and Kyle, like Kyle can't make the picks anymore. And I kind of get the feeling he didn't make the picks last year. John shouldn't be making the picks. Don't promote Ethan Watt. Don't promote Josh Williams. Don't promote RJ Gillum or Tariq Ahmad. Like, all these guys haven't been good enough. You need to go out and get someone from Seattle or Green Bay or New England, someone that has been drafting really the Rams the last 4 years. You got to bring in someone from the outside, humble yourself, listen to them. If you'd done better, you wouldn't have to do this.
I really think that this is the moment in time that Jed should restructure the thing, but then do it under the guise of, we're promoting you. Kyle, you're the best play caller there is, and this and that. We're taking this off your plate. John, you're our face of our franchise and a respected guy, but we're going to, the Ravens director of college scouting, and he is going to have final say on the draft and free agency and all of personnel. And you guys, I think that, I know that would be viewed as an aggressive move by Jed, but I think it's the smart move. If you don't do that, at least what I would do if I was Jed is I would do what Detroit did and what Kansas City did, and what with John Dorsey, where you bring in a guy, a John Dorsey, a Scott McLuhan, or somebody who's got an opinion, and you invite them in, you pay them $250,000, and they're there in your draft room, adding to your brain trust and another set of eyes. Why? Because I think over the course of time, what happens is all the guys in the room know that they want to keep their job, and so they just align their opinions with the people who have the most power. And I think it's human nature to do that, and I think it would just be healthier for the 49ers if they brought somebody who didn't know the structure of things, who was just dialed in on the players, and who has no allegiances or loyalties or making up for last year's missed picks or any of that garbage that gets into the equation. I think that would be their smarter move. I don't think they'll do it, but that's what I think they should do.
Niner Fisherman says, would love an Addison trade, but yes, Krug, bring me Dobbs and Pierce and stop drafting wide receivers. Yes. That'll just sit.
Yes, that's the other good idea. Stop drafting wide receivers. If you look at wide receivers, it's the biggest failure position in the draft year after year. They're hard to evaluate from the top to the bottom of the draft. They're really hard to evaluate. It takes them 2 years to get used to it. It's like drafting offensive linemen. It takes them a while. Don't invest those years. Go sign Alec Pierce. Go sign Romeo Dobbs. Get guys that can contribute right away.
Bill Kennedy says, what is the secret to Chat Sports Money Machine? Well, it's Chase Sr., dude. Chase Sr., he's smart, handsome.
He's on tonight.
I love Chase. I'm going to do a thing. Charlie Sinclair says McDaniel and Harbaugh is good for the media room.
Yeah.
I like that combination. I feel like Harbaugh needs McDaniel to sort of like bring his offense into the modern age, and McDaniel needs Harbaugh to sort of teach him how to be a man in a non-pejorative way, as like a real leader, a real head coach. So good for McDaniel.
I know, that's wild, by the way. That's a wild hire. I mean, here's the weird thing about that. Isn't Jim an offensive guy? I mean, isn't he going to decide I want 3 yards in a cloud of dust? And isn't McDaniel going to want to throw it all over the yard and all these? So I don't know.
Well,
I
McDaniel
can
was
see
the
those
run game
guys fighting.
coordinator for the 49ers once upon a time. I think he wants to run the ball too.
But like, what does Harbaugh do then? If you're not the offensive guy and you're not the defensive guy, you're just what? You're just sitting there pounding guys' shoulder pads.
Pounds shoulder pads, man. Kidding? What does his brother do? At least he's a lot better than his brother. Siegfried says Malik Willis and Mac Jones will be highly wanted. Malik Willis is good. He'll be a free agent. David Baker says the risk of altering the locker room culture with Addison is not worth it. Possible. I'm not vouching for him. I don't know anything about Jordan Addison personally. I don't know.
He wouldn't. He would not impact their culture at all. I'm telling you, it's not like that, guy. You're just because you drove your car 95 and a 35 doesn't mean that you're gonna ruin the culture.
At the same time, it's not a good thing. You know, it's
not a good thing.
She writes this. They got to make sure he's good.
He's not, let's just pretend this guy's involved with domestic violence or anything. I mean, that to me, I draw the line. Like if you bring Kareem Hunt into the room,
that's a deal breaker.
I think you got guys going.
And they haven't.
What are we doing?
But like the stuff he's done, DeMarcus Robinson did. So clearly, it's not a deal breaker for the Niners.
Right.
It's not. Charlie Sinclair says going from Tua to Herbert is like going from Greg Roman to Mike. Well, yeah, it really is. I have Herbert on my fantasy team, my dynasty team. I'm so happy that Mike McDaniel's there. It's a big upgrade. It's a big moment for me. Blood Moon says Buff threw Keon under the bus. They are down bad, and I wouldn't be surprised if they ultimately outbid the Niners for Jordan Addison. Blood Moon says, go ahead.
Bleacher Report had a rumor the other day, and then Lynch did not say that Ayuk would be cut. He just said Ayuk will never play with the Niners again. Bleacher Report had a trade that sent Ayuk to the Buffalo Bills, Grant, for Keon Coleman in a 5th-round pick. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I kind of view Ayuk as just, dead and buried, and they're getting nothing for him. But if they could get Keon Coleman in a 5th-round pick for Ayuk, do it.
Maybe they'll trade him for Jordan Addison. Alec Pierce Colts is very interesting. He is. I wonder. He is
great.
Good.
He'd be great.
He's a good player. He's going to get paid. S2 Blink says, how long has Larry been a Niner fan?
Like mid-70s.
He's from San Francisco. Steven says, Grant, you would trash the Niners for trading for Addison if he gets in trouble, be honest. Hey, look, I'm just telling you what I heard. I'm not telling you what they should do. I don't really know much about Jordan Addison. It's not great when you get arrested, let alone 3 times, let alone before you turn 24. I'm just saying he might, maybe 3 times is enough. Maybe he's, you know what? I've learned.
He's a young man.
He's a young guy. I was stupid as hell when I was 23. Still am. Dazza says, why trade Mac? He can do 80% of what Brock can. Brock has more trade value and is 10 times more expensive. Pretty sure Mac could have put up 9 points in 2 games against Seattle. I'm not sure that Brock has way more trade value. I mean, he has a big contract that goes along with him. Mac's kind of got this cool thing that he's cheap right now. I think they're both worth firsts. One's worth a first, one's worth a second. I don't know.
I mean, if the Niners were stacked as a team, then they could flip the bird to everybody and say we're keeping him. But the reality is the Niners are in a crisis. They need as many assets as they can possibly come up with to help rebuild this football team. And if Mac Jones can fill 2 holes, in a trade with a pick and a player or a couple picks, I mean, I love Mac Jones too. But, I mean, the Niners got to do it not for Mac. They got to do it for themselves.
Niner Fisherman says Bain can set edge, tackle, and sack the quarterback. Reddick motor. I would definitely trade Mac to swap picks with cards. Move Michael inside. The
now
Jedi
you
say
got something, dude. Now you got something. If you've got Collins and West and McKell in some kind of rotation, and you've got Bosa and Bain off the edges, now you got a beastly D line. You may not win, but it won't be because of those guys.
The Jedi says, was John asked about the draft misses today? No. He talked about how much he loves the young players and how much he believes in them. Mr. Fish and Chip says, see you in August if I continue watching the woke NFL. Oh, okay. Love you, Mr. Fish and Chips. Sir Molly Mall says, Niners should look to trade for Devon Achane or Jalen Waddle. They come from the same system after McDaniels, and both have track speed. Also, Chubb to help Bosa. That's interesting. I like Achane.
More, I mean, I will say this. I think that guy's totally spot on. More speed is necessary. Tight end, wide receiver, running back, offensive line. They need more speed. The 49ers are so slow. I mean, it's got to be they I mean, they just got absolutely snuffed out by Seattle. It was something else to watch. Go watch the All 22. Usually, I would say the All 22 is a bore for most people. There's no noise on it. You're not going to hear any commentary. It's pretty dry. But man, if you want to see dominance up close, go watch Seattle against the Niners last week. It was dominant.
Nick H says, "Is George Pickens an option if Cowboys don't pay him?" No. Talk about not fitting the culture. That guy is really good at football, though, but I don't think they would get him. What do you think?
Who's that?
Pickens.
No, they're not.
No.
Pickens? No, they're not.
Hell, he's very good. He'll just have days where he just doesn't seem like he wants to play. Dominic Ramsey says, which side of the ball is better to address during the draft? They need to get so much younger on offense. They really do. They need a running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, countless offensive linemen, everything but a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, the Niners should never again go into the draft looking for a position. Just play the thing as it comes to you and get great players. Get great players. Why did Detroit have this little renaissance? Penei Sewell, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, great players. They drafted great players, and suddenly, oh, look, Detroit's awesome. That's what the Niners
and the Niners have enough needs to go best player available. The Jedi says if Burrow leaves Bengals, trade for Chase. Yeah, they'll just trade everyone in Cincinnati. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, Axel says Mac is at most worth a second. That might get Niners to the mid-teens. We're going to talk about Mac in a minute. Hold tight, Axel. Baby Radiant says, will the Niners pick a tight end in the first round? If it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Go watch the kid from Vanderbilt. He might be interesting. He's like probably more of a second or third round pick. His name's Eli Stowers. But this is not, I'll say this. I don't think this is a vintage tight end crop. The guys that I'd be interested in at tight end, and I'd be aggressive with it, Kyle Pitts from the Falcons, who, struggled with injuries out of Florida, but now looks like he's ready for liftoff. I think Kyle Pitts could have a really amazing 3-year run in this offense. And the other guy is Isaiah Likely for Baltimore, who's just, he's big and he's strong, but he's also got great hands, and I think he would really flourish. I think I would go veteran tight end over rookie tight end if possible, because the Niners asked the tight end to do a lot. It's a mentally challenging spot on their offense, and I just think that you got to have some guys who know how to play the pro game.
MS says Saleh gone. He can take Gifford, so Martin actually gets playing time. Gifford played all year because he was Saleh's guy and did nothing. Was he Saleh's guy? I guess he was Saleh's guy. I thought Nick Martin was Saleh's guy. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Nick Martin actually gets on the field. He was just cleared from his concussion today. So I guess he would have been able to play in the NFC Championship game if the Niners had made it. I don't know.
I mean, the Niners better rebuild their linebacking core. I mean, they had Azeez, Greenlaw, and Warner at one point, and now it's like they're going to have a hard time. I mean, they really have to invest a day 1 or day 2 pick in a great linebacker and find themselves more speed. I mean, look at the Nick Eman-Warries. Look at that Drake Thomas. I mean, the Seahawks on that second level were so damn fast, and it made all the difference in the world. The Niners, Garrett Wallow and Kendricks and these guys, I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's, that has to be upgraded dramatically.
Steven says, look into Drake London. Long shot, probably not going to happen. They're going to keep Drake London. Wezzy says, thoughts on Sean McDermott, Niners head coach. I'm not a big fan of Sean McDermott. Like, he deserved to get fired, in my opinion. I mean, you had that quarterback for all those years and you never did anything, and now you're going to go somewhere else without Josh Allen and be more successful. I think he needs to take a year off or never be a head coach again. Might be a good DC though.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get him to be your DC, I just, to me, he's never seemed like that. You got to be somewhat of a verbal, orator to kind of get your point across to the public, and he just, to me, he seems very limited as how he comes across. But he's considered to be a very cerebral defensive coach, and if you could get him as your coordinator, I think some guys just top out at coordinator. They're just not great head coaches.
Stephen Niner says, John raved about how good our draft was, but where are the Pro Bowlers? Seems like we're satisfied with just non-bust now. It did feel like John was really like advocating for himself at this press conference and reminding people of all the good things he had done. And it's like, yeah, all the players we lost last year, that just shows how much people admire what we've built over here. It felt like he was almost making a case for himself, which always makes me wonder how strong or shaky his footing is.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, because they haven't gotten it done. Okay, so like, let's put all of our cards on the table. You and I do not pull punches. Does Kyle Shanahan not have a ring because of Kyle Shanahan? Does Kyle Shanahan not have a ring because of John Lynch? Does Kyle Shanahan not have a ring because of his quarterback? I mean, why does Kyle Shanahan not have a ring first and foremost? A lot of people would say it's on him. I kind of think it's more on Lynch. I personally don't think the Niners' talent is that great. I think that their talent should be a whole lot better. And I just think that I think Kyle's system still works. I just think that he doesn't have anything. I mean, you can't run in the A gap because you have no interior offensive line. You have no speed to the edges. You have no speed down the field. What do you got? Man, when was the last time you drafted? You put it out there, didn't you? Like, since 22, here are the great players that Seattle's drafted. It's like 20 deep. The Niners have like Purdy and Upton Stout. So it's like they really, the last few years, have bottomed out. And that's why I think it's more important that they get real with themselves, shake their tree a little bit, take some power away from these guys, bring in a third voice, and otherwise it's just more of the same and cross your fingers. I mean, that's what I got out of today. It's more of the same and cross your fingers.
But I put it more on Kyle than John, because the way I look at it is Kyle's making decisions. Kyle hired John. I don't think John ever overrules Kyle. And I think you look at someone like Ricky Pearsall, that was a Kyle Shanahan pick. And so, yeah, I mean, removing John Lynch or getting someone to replace John Lynch would be great. But I think it's more about having someone that Kyle Shanahan answers to as opposed to dominates.
I think more than anything, we don't know exactly how they come to their decisions, but I think their decision-making thing should change.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dave Softy Mahler, and he's like, what happened with Seattle was that, Pete Carroll pushed for all these different draft picks, and then they got him out of there. And then in the last couple of years without Pete Carroll, John Schneider has just been ripping the draft because he doesn't have Carroll there. Would John Lynch be ripping the draft if Shanahan wasn't suggesting certain things? Maybe it's time to take Shanahan's personnel control away from him as part of restructuring.
I kind of feel like they already did, though. I feel like that's what last year was about. The first 5 picks were defense. Then when he finally drafted offensive players, he didn't play them. Maybe he didn't pick them. Maybe that was his way of saying to the front office, hey, you want me to play these players on offense? You let me pick them. I'm just saying, the thought crossed my mind.
Well, I don't know, because I'm not seeing a great. I guess you could say he could look at everything and be like, who wanted Kittle? It was me. Okay, yeah, but who wanted Beathard? Who traded up for Beathard in the 3rd round? I mean, there's been a lot of misses, and there are a lot on skill position guys that Kyle most likely either wanted or signed off on or may have handpicked. So maybe taking away and maybe they already have. Maybe you're right, but they need to change something about how they're drafting. And because they need to hit at a much higher rate. The one thing that's discouraging, they're getting further and further away from the top teams, not closer to the top, at least from my perspective.
Beretta Buster says, would you give Keon Coleman a shot for a late round pick? Is he a lost cause? I'm not interested.
He doesn't he doesn't solve the Niners' problem. The Niners' problem is their receivers don't get separation. This guy's powerful, but he's 4'6" and doesn't get separation. They need guys who can get away, who create space. And that's why Addison's so intriguing.
Dominic says, if Gus Bradley is made DC, would he be a long-term option? Let's go right there. The next defensive coordinator, I was going to ask, my question for the coordinator was going to be, are you going to look outside the organization, and does the next defensive coordinator have to run the wide 9? Are you still married to that front? And Eric beat me to the punch, and he said a lot of people kind of connecting the dots that Gus Bradley could be the replacement. What do you think? And Kyle was like, yeah, he's definitely the number 1 choice in the organization. We'll look outside the organization, but we won't cast a wide net. We'll do what we have to do. Rooney Rule. Maybe they'll wait to see if Jim Schwartz is available, maybe not. What do you think of him basically saying that Gus Bradley's probably going to be the defensive coordinator?
I think that's been the plan. I mean, I think that's the plan. I mean, I don't think Gus came out here because the Niners knew that they were gonna that Saleh was very likely a one and done situation, and they knew that their continuity on the defensive coordinator side of the football, that's a major thing. I mean, it's like some guys are going to make you change your front. If you change your front, then now you got to change how you draft and the kinds of defensive linemen you go after. So it's not necessarily something you want to be changing around often. Shanahan in the past has said he's open to a 3-4, but today he said, they like their wide nine and they like their 4-man front and they like that. And I think for continuity purposes, they want to keep Chris. I bet you they want to keep Chris, Holland, and Bullocks. And so I think, yes, they're going to do their process because it's mandated by the league and they don't want to incur fines and that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's a couple people they'll talk to, but he made it seem like, Bradley is the choice. And that didn't surprise me at all. I thought Bradley was the choice. And I think people should be pretty excited about that. This was a very, very good defensive coordinator in a couple other spots and a guy that knows defensive personnel, which is they still need to build that up. And so that's, to me, what is encouraging about Bradley. I think he gives you two things. He's a veteran coach. He's 59. He's not 75. And he knows personnel.
Hate it. I really don't like the idea of promoting Gus Bradley. I think it's a big mistake. And it feels like instead of going out and getting the best guy, you want to keep Chris Kasarik. You want to keep Johnny Holland. You want to keep Daniel Bullocks. And they're all good. But you should get what's most important is to have a good defensive coordinator. This guy's been on like 7 teams. What's most important is to get a good defensive coordinator, the best one available, and let him pick whatever scheme, whatever coaches he wants, whatever players he wants. But they won't do that because they're married to these certain things. And so they'll promote Gus Bradley because that's the plan and he's been here and they know him. And I feel like that's how you ended up with Sorensen. It's how you ended up with Steve Wilkes. I would much. I mean,
this
if they
guy's
could get
resume
Jim
is better
Schwartz,
than that.
I would like to get Jim Schwartz. But it's possible that Jim Schwartz won't be available. He could be. They want to keep him in Cleveland in one way or another. So, is Raheem Morris not better than? I think Raheem Morris is better than Gus Bradley. He just would change things around. They haven't evolved at all on defense. I mean, not much since 2019. I'd be open to it.
I just don't understand why you're down on Gus Bradley because, I mean, Gus Bradley had success as a defensive coordinator and also had a lot of success in kind of the origins of that Seattle defense. I mean, even this year for the 49ers, he had success this year. I mean, he was the assistant head coach. They gave him one job. Your job was to be the red zone defensive czar. They were 10 spots higher in red zone defense than they were in their regular defense. They were 24th in defense. They were 14th in the red zone.
So Colts fired him a year ago. He was one and done with the Raiders. You ask Charger fans about him, they scoff. He's very vanilla. He's way more vanilla than Robert Saleh. He's not going to blitz. If his pass rush is crazy good, maybe it'll work. But to me, he hasn't really had success as a DC in more than 10 years, which is why he's been bouncing around, which is why he wasn't a DC last year. I mean, it's great that the Niners rehabilitated his image and got him in the culture and on the team. But if they're just asking him to be kind of like Robert Saleh, I think he's going to break their heart.
That's funny. I know some people that feel that he's a better coach than Robert Saleh defensively. I don't know. I mean, it depends who you talk to.
Yeah.
I personally think that Gus Bradley would be, they'd be very fortunate to get themselves a Gus Bradley. Now, Schwartz is intriguing because Schwartz does have the wide nine. He's had a lot of success in a lot of different places. And maybe he's got a few more years of longevity. Maybe a guy like Schwartz has already been a head coach a few times and now, he'll be here. Maybe he'd be an upgrade. I don't know that much about Raheem Morris. I know that Kyle had him, but I mean, Atlanta seemed like a very vanilla defense. The Niners, that was the one team they ran well against this year. And then after the Niners beat him, they went into like a month-long funk and he got fired. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what I think of Raheem Morris, to be honest.
I think you could do better than both of them. I mean, I don't have a name off the top of my head, but it just feels like, look at what the Niners, what this job has been for Saleh, for D'Amico. I mean, if you have 1 or 2 good years coaching this defense, it's a springboard to being a head coach.
I mean,
So,
some
I
people
mean,
say
Gus
AJ
Bradley's
Wright.
not gonna be a head coach again. Any defensive coach who's ambitious and has, designs of being a head coach sooner rather than later, why not look at this job?
I mean, the only thing is that, there's one thing with this job is that, Kyle's more likely to blame you than blame himself.
That is true. You absolutely are the scapegoat
Yeah.
if it doesn't go well.
So it's like it's kind
Steve
of a
Wilkes probably wishes he didn't take this job. Same with Sorensen.
I mean, Sorensen was lucky to have the job. I mean, come on. I mean, who else is making Nick Sorensen their defensive coordinator?
I got a prediction today on January 21st before Gus Bradley's even been hired. If they hire him, he'll be one and done. Predicting it right now.
1 year of Bradley and then on to somebody else.
One and done. That's been their thing. I mean, they're on their 5th DC in 5 years.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I don't care who's coordinating the defense. If they don't get serious about what they have on the defensive side, I mean, they had the best linebacking core in the league under D'Amico Ryans. Right now you've got Fred Warner coming off of the biggest injury of his career on the wrong side of 30, right? And then you've got Tatum Bethune and Nick Martin and guys. Garrett Wallow, Kendricks. I mean, it's a wasteland of nothingness. They got to prioritize getting a great linebacker somehow, some way.
How did you interpret Kyle Shanahan and Jauan Jennings? Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch discussing Jauan Jennings today. They were both asked. They both answered about Jauan, and they both made it clear how much they want him back. Do you think that there's a chance? How likely do you think it is that Jauan resigns here?
I think it's pretty likely, actually. Why? Because their receiving core is a mess. Also, it's the one guy that I absolutely know that they both love. Lynch has called Jauan his favorite player, and Shanahan, when I asked him about Jauan last week, said there's no player that he holds in higher regard. So, I mean, they love this player more than anybody else loves this player. So what are the odds that some NFL team on the outside is going to offer him more than what Shanahan and they're going to go high for him? They're not going to 22 million or whatever. I mean, if he goes there, he can, you can ask for whatever you want to ask for. Nobody's going to pay that. Not for a guy who they all have 4. You got to remember, these teams they think about it. What do you think of this guy? And then they go immediately back to their scouting reports from the draft, and they're like, "Yeah, we liked him in the draft, but 4.77. No, we're not going to pay this guy. No separation. Look at this film. No separation." So I would say 2 years, 32 million, 16 million a year would be as high as the Niners would go. And maybe they won't even go that high, but I can't imagine that anybody's going to give him more than that. I think he's back.
Listening to both of them talk at length about how much they wanted him, and John Lynch even saying, like, yeah, we're going to try to get him back, makes me feel like, also in addition, the fact that they're interested in Jordan Addison. Addison feels more like a replacement for Ricky Pearsall than a compliment to Ricky Pearsall. I mean, Pearsall is the downfield, stretch the field guy, and Jauan Jennings is the possession receiver. I feel like Jauan Jennings and Jordan Addison would really complement each other very well. Jennings would be the number 2. Addison would be the number 1. Both of them are, vets who would be getting paid, but not like $30 million a year, way below that. What the price range that the Niners were comfortable with all along with Brandon Ayuk. It would make sense that they would bring back Jauan Jennings after the season he had and what they said today.
Only thing is, the one team, and you got Team effing Young over here saying Jennings goes to Tennessee with Saleh for Cam Ward. Jauan Jennings is a ticket selling element in Tennessee. I mean, he's popular there. So and that is home. So I would not be surprised at all if Robert Saleh explains to these guys the value of Jauan Jennings. Because, I mean, if you're Robert Saleh, you're not going anywhere the same way you weren't going anywhere with the Jets if you don't develop your young quarterback. He didn't develop Zach Wilson. The whole thing blew up. If he doesn't develop Cam, the whole thing's going to blow up as well, and he probably knows it. So, paying JJ too much money when they have a ton of cap room and a stadium opening and this and that to get Cam Ward on the right, going in the right direction. I could see Saleh prioritizing that. I could see JJ there in Tennessee. If he's not there in Tennessee, he's going to be back here, though.
Yeah, but I could also see Jauan just using Tennessee as a negotiating, like, who wants to go play for the Titans?
He wants to win,
Like,
right? Yeah, he
I
wants to
would
win.
think, if the money's the same, if he could get an offer from Tennessee and go back to the Niners and be like, all right, this is my market. I want to play for you. Can you kind of come close? I would think that the answer is going to be yes, because I don't think anyone's offering him 25. It'd probably be closer to 20 tops. And I
I
think the
mean,
Niners
even that seems
feel like they want him.
way high. That seems way high. I
Yeah.
mean, if you really think about it. But I will say about this
Coming
about
off 600 yards this year, like, it's no way. Yeah.
Jauan scores touchdowns, though. I mean,
Yep.
man, he is tough. He is tough. And, I mean, I think for the 49ers, you need every team needs a couple culture players. And he is such a culture player. And I'd be willing to pay him short term, not north of 20, but I would be willing to pay him because I do think he's important.
All right, last thing, Mac Jones, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch asked about him. Kyle Shanahan went on and on about how good he is and how, he'd be really surprised if he's not on the team. Now, of course, they have to listen to offers on anyone, just as they would for Kyle and John themselves, but he's just so good and he meant so much. How do you interpret that?
The 49ers, I think there's probably, all the teams around the league are trying to play, mental poker with each other. And I'm sure there's some people going, oh, you know what? They're going to do right by Jones and he's going to demand out. And so they're going to be forced to trade him and they'll have to take a third or fourth round pick. But I think it's the Niners way of, firing a shot out there going, hey, look, we got him under contract. It's not going to be cheap. He's really valuable to us. You want to come correct. So I think it's, for Shanahan to say, I really expect to see him on the roster next year. Maybe they're asking for a high pick. I mean, they will get if they keep Mac, he plays for them next year. He walks at the end of the year. They get a third round compensatory pick for him. So there's no reason to really trade him this year for a third round compensatory pick. You could just wait a year and get that pick in a year. So the only reason you trade him is if you got a deal that was better than a third round compensatory pick. So if they get, Michael Mayer in a second from the Raiders, if they got Michael Wilson in a second from the Cardinals, I could see something like that. To me, that seems like what the price tag's going to be.
Yeah, I could see that. Wouldn't it be interesting from the Raiders' perspective? Like, everyone expects him to take Fernando Mendoza with the first pick, but what if they just didn't do that? Because I feel like he would fail. There's not enough good players there. You could trade down from number one, get a bunch of players in round one, or just the best player available in round one and trade for Mac Jones.
Heck, I mean, if you're the 49ers and you want to, try to grow that deal and trade your number one, maybe you could get Max Crosby in that deal,
Yeah.
Maybe you could get Michael Mayer, a Notre Dame tight end. I think would be perfect right now for the 49ers. He's been in the league. And I did see, Tom Brady with a, extended conversation on the field with Mac Jones before the game the other day. So, who knows? Maybe he's doing his due diligence. That would be interesting. The first pick in the draft, it's, all these guys are great until 2 years down the road, and then all of a sudden everybody's a bust. So the reality is Mac Jones is not a bust. You know what you got. He can process. He's accurate. He's an NFL quarterback. He just did it. And he's got a 1 year, $7 million contract. So you don't have to worry about, that. You can take a look at him for a year. He's the ultimate, he's a much safer play than Fernando Mendoza, who could be the best player in football, but he also may crumble after taking 10 hits behind that line.
Nair Watt says, we're going to make Gus DC and draft an overrated DT in the first round, aren't we? I don't think they're going DT in the first round, personally. I think they're going offense. They need offense. They scored 6 points.
They got to find themselves a dominating guard. And they probably should have gone with Zabel over Mikel last year. And look what Zabel's done for the Hawks.
Laser Lack says, just want to say you two are the GOATs. Love when you co-host. Hell yeah. Thank you,
man.
MBM says Pearsall should be 4 wide receiver on depth chart because injury. Well, he might not be on this team next year. We'll see. Lyle Bolliard says, go get Brees Hall and Alex Pierce and fill the rest in the draft. Could happen.
Pearsall does run in the 4.3s. I mean, I'll say this. That was the one thing I really liked after the Niners lost is that McCaffrey's like, hey, go get somebody. I know I'll share time. I mean, if you can get better players and help us out, I like that. That to me tells me that he's all about winning over comfort or personal accolades.
Agree. Avian Perez, new member. Thank you. Fish and Chips, OBE, new member. Thank you. Patrick Willis says, can you please clarify who's in the Cabo clique? Have they gone to Cabo recently? I mean, it's the same guys who've been on the team forever, right? It's Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle,
Trent,
Trent, Christian McCaffrey, Fred Warner,
Pearsall.
Those guys. I don't know about Pearsall. Maybe. Taryn Love, new member. Thank you very Terrellin Love, new member. Thank you very much. Avian Perez says, is it past DeForest Buckner's time? He would be an upgrade to an internal D-line, no?
I mean, at this point, I think when the Niners played the Colts, I was expecting D-Buck to look really awesome. And to me, and maybe it's just that night, and he was coming off an injury, but to me, he looked really old.
Patrick Willis says, can we trade up to get Fernando Brock to LV? They might, maybe. Cyber Radio says, I'd rather not do the Sorensen experiment again with Bradley. Hire a strong DC that will stay. Kyle needs his Spags or Fangio. That's why I think Schwartz would be so cool. He'd probably have him for 10 years. He's not going anywhere. He's really good, but I don't think Cleveland wants to let him go. I don't know.
Would be nice to have somebody who is like for sure going to be here for like 5 years. I mean, that would be nice.
They would. Aru Illustri says Chat GPT and Gemini both say Jim Schwartz is a better choice than Gus Bradley, more aggressive and better on third downs. They're the same age.
Wow.
Again, he's under contract with the Browns, and I think the Browns are looking for a head coach who wants to keep Schwartz as their DC. I think that's what they want to do. So
they're trying to keep Myles Garrett happy.
Yep. All day, every day. Kim says Kyle's going to take a punter in the first. Siegfried says you should live stream Madden fixing Niners. That would be funny. I don't have a PlayStation, but maybe I should get one. Promo code. All right, we got a couple more super chats, and then we're out of here. I think Fish and Chips is the BA fan page, says Jewish guy. And Dr. Rockman says, hey, Lowell, tell Grant how Brock.
Say Larry, tell Grant how
Brock earned his contract.
I don't know.
How'd he do it?
I'm not sure what he's getting at there.
Larry.
He's played well. I'll say this. I didn't take away, I didn't think the Niners lost in Seattle because of Brock. I thought the Niners lost in Seattle because of the offensive line, the weapons, their terrible.
I thought it was a team
linebackers. Effort. I mean, I thought Brock Purdy played pretty well. I mean, he ran all over the place. He ran, he did what he could. The first play of the game when DeMarcus Lawrence hit him in the face. I mean, Jake Brendel, what are you doing? He pushed off on blocking nobody. Then he pushed off on Leonard Williams against, to his left. And then he just turned his back as DeMarcus Lawrence peeled off of Trent Williams, looped inside and smoked Brock right in the face. And Brendel just, nothing at all, just kind of pivoted, turned his back on the play. I mean, it's like, I can't watch Brendel anymore at center.
That being said, another multi-turnover performance in a big game against a good defense from Brock Purdy. Got to stop. And he even took credit. He even took blame for the interception, which I appreciated. He said, I can't throw the ball over the middle on that scramble drill, which is true. You can't do that. Beretta Buster says, do you think any of our rookies will regress with the departure of Saleh? Jair fell off a cliff when Wilkes left. Green is going on his fourth DC or something. It's a good question. I mean, Bryce Huff was here for Saleh. Upton Stout was here because Saleh had a vision. The next guy's going to be Gus Bradley, so I guess.
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, the 49ers have to hit consistently, not hit and miss and hit and cut one here and miss there. They're going to have to put together some, hits in a row. This is a massive offseason. I mean, I didn't look at it this way coming into this year, but this is a huge offseason. Now that the Rams and Seahawks have gone by you're going to have to close that gap. It's going to be very challenging.
Dubs, thanks for the $2. The show is over. Thanks for watching. That's Larry. I'm Grant. We'll be back next week. Larry, thank you so much.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
See you guys.